Oh, magic. Thank you, guys. Okay, so hello, everyone. My name is Vladimir. I'm one of the creators of the library Albumentations. And today I will talk about, on this example, which may not be applicable to other use cases, let's say 51 open source, how we grew to some pretty decent adoption. Okay. First of all, I would like to say thank to people who helped and worked on this project. It's core team, existing core team, 1.5 people, me and Michael, 1.5 because I'm working on this full time and Mike has another job. And at the peak, it was like 5 people. And as you can see, library is called not Vladimentations, but Albumentations, meaning core of the code and kind of like person who originated. It's not me, it's Alexander Buslaev. Sadly, he stopped working on the library. I'll talk more about this. We also, during this time, had more than 100 contributors, 140 or something like this. Each of them slowly but consistently helped to build on the library. So in this sense, again, want to say thank to them publicly. Okay. Doesn't work. Okay, works. So I have a request to the audience. Typically, when you work on some open source library, you suspect, based on some metric that you see, that you're making life of other people better, maybe helping them to make money, but you don't get direct thank you, direct feedback. In this sense, we heavily appreciate when someone publicly says on Twitter or LinkedIn or something, thank you guys, it was helpful, it was beneficial. It's not that hard, but yeah, it helps us. So right now I have a request to you, if you're sitting in front of your laptops, just like to say thank you in this form, go to the repository and click on the star button. It will not change a lot, but it will make our life better. It's a way to say thanks to us, okay? Sure. Next slide. Okay, so my name is Vladimir. As Jacob, my background is in physics. So, and as Jacob may confirm, going from physics to machine learning, it's like, going down in some sense, pretty easy. Physics is like a bit more advanced stuff. I worked at a few startups, and my last job was as a staff machine learning engineer at Lyft level 5, working on self-driving maps, perception, things like this. Also in my free time, and it actually was my best training gym that gave me more about machine learning knowledge. I participated in machine learning competition at Kaggle and other platforms and got pretty big in that. And in a way, having a brand there at Kaggle, knowing all top Kaggle people, like personally or maybe through the forum, was a big boost to us because Kaggle as a platform was a driving force, as a distribution thing that helped the library to become popular. I am also, again, co-creator of Albumentations, and I have more than 20 papers in physics and deep learning. Surprisingly, when I was in physics, I was studying during my master's, I wrote 1 paper, at PhD wrote 3, then I graduated, started applying for jobs, and I was looking for machine learning positions, and no one looked at my resume because there was nothing about deep learning there. And so I was forced to publish papers, and apparently, during studying, it is hard. After graduation, it's easy. So after graduation, I published another 20. Okay, so next slide. If I'll figure out how to do it on Mac. Okay, Albumentations, library, open source. I thrown here a bunch of different screenshots that shows that it's quite popular. First of all, one that I'm most proud and maybe exciting about is the number of downloads. We have more than 2 million downloads per month. Last day, it was more than 80,000 downloads. How many of them, some CI/CD testing, things like this, I don't know, but still this number is pretty impressive. It is used by GitHub, shows more than 23,000 repositories. As I mentioned, we have 140 contributors. And as you can see on the map, it's used all over the world. Of course, United States is the biggest cluster of innovation. First place, India, China, also extremely big and powerful cluster. South Korea, I don't know. This, I don't know. This requires some investigation. Russia expected because, yeah, originally library was popular in Russian-speaking community, meaning Russia and Ukraine and Kazakhstan and other countries. Germany, Japan, still mystery to me. And again, so we also have paper about the library published as MDPI, and it has almost 2,000 citations, which is my most cited paper. And of course, I published 5 years after graduation. meaning all these papers that I read for physics are significantly less popular. And again, to see in which companies the library is used, I believe it is used all over the place for different computer vision tasks. I checked, there's no direct way to do it, but I went to the GitHub of a few prominent tech companies, look just like Albumentations, or look if they actually use it not only in requirements, but some part of their pipeline. And here screenshots or a few of them. So yeah. Basically, the slide should establish some credibility that library is popular to some extent. Okay, so. Okay, what the library is used for. If you're not familiar with this, and I suspect that not that many familiar, because right now we get big wave of LLMs and computer vision is just suppressed in some sense in this public field. So this library is doing image augmentations. Image augmentation or data augmentation, you take some piece of data and you generate new data out of it. For you, it may look similar, but for model, it's different set of pixels or different sets of values. Easy one could be rotations, or you can make it like more bright, more dark. And here are examples on the image. We have at the moment, I think more than 80 different augmentations. And of course, some of them are more convenient. Let's say at the bottom, you see satellite imagery, and you can satellite imagery rotate, flip, it still makes sense, which is not the case with natural images. Let's say car, you cannot flip up and down. I mean, you can, but it doesn't make sense. And also you see there are some specific transforms used for medical imagery. If you have some slice of your body or someone else's body and you move it around, it still makes sense. And it's very powerful augmentations. Originally was proposed, I think, in the UNET paper. Okay, so just like small overview, but this talk is not even about images. This talk about what did we do, what steps I believe should be done if some individual contributor, some person, some developer, some ML engineer, data scientist would like to build or building some open source library and would like to have more impact and more engagement from the community. Still learning, it's the hardest part. Oh, okay, metric. So I want to say popular, but how do you measure popular? You need like some kind of metric, some kind of like number. You cannot improve if you don't measure. So numbers that come to mind, of course, the first is money. If you're doing something and people find it useful and it shows their pain, they presumably would like to somehow contribute with their financial component. If your product is not making money for whatever reason, daily active users makes sense. If you cannot calculate daily active users, maybe number of downloads. And again, used by repositories like less representative, like stars of GitHub, visitors of the website, phase of the moon, something like this. So the best is money. Okay, let's think about money. Okay, the issue is I don't know how to make money out of open source. Here, like 2 screenshots. At the center is the amount of money that I was paid per year working for someone else. So it was about 70,000 per month before taxes. Taxes are kind of high. So in some sense, I believe I understand how to make money working for someone else. Next slide to it, our existing sponsor is like some company who is donating $25 per month. Just think about this, 72,000 versus 25. I don't know how to make money yet. I believe it's possible. It could be more challenging the further tasks. Didn't work on this carefully, didn't figure out yet. We'll focus on this few months later. Okay. Daily active users, same issue. I don't know any good way to measure how many people use the library, because for open source, there is no login. Maybe we should add login, but it would be strange for this type of the tool. I know weights and biases and similar kind of like platforms, they require you to log in, and this, okay, user login, email makes sense. Here, I don't know, installation. Is it happening in CI/CD? Is it going in tests? Is someone creating new environments, new notebook? Is it the same person, different people? I don't know. So in this sense, I would love to measure daily active users. And if you know, or at least have some hints, what direction should I start thinking to get this, let me know. It will be very exciting. So out of necessity, I use the metric downloads. It is vanity metric. It's not as good as, like, of course, money or daily active users, but it gives you some understanding. It's solidly better than GitHub stars. And for Python packages, and I believe for JavaScript as well, you have this information available at PyPy, and for JavaScript like at NPM. For C++, it's not the case. I talked to Ash about this, and he's building this amazing C++ libraries, and there is no way to know how many people use your library. You don't even know order of magnitude, you don't anything. In this sense, Python is better. We know have number of downloads. So what do we have right now? As I mentioned, as of today, a bit more than 2 million downloads. And this is a big number. I like it, my mother's proud of me, life is great. At the same time, again, after all these machine learning competitions, and overall to understand how the world works, you need to say, and again, from experience, a few months back when it was like million, I look at this number, I talk to a friend or maybe some VC or some like party and just like, guys, like library, $1 million, just like, it's okay. And I understand that they don't know, is it big number or small number? What is the baseline? Maybe everyone is like, there is no kind of a comparison. So to make my life easier, I created leaderboard. That's what you see on the right side of the screen. Publicly available, uses this public data where it tracks and updated once a month based on the number of downloads, Python packages, and just like says, is it like growing on the leaderboard or decreasing, and what's the story, life is good. And it also tells you how far are you from similar packages or above them or below them. It gives you some kind of like frame of reference. For example, you see, okay, so if you take all Python packages, it's 520,000 right now. Albumentations 1 month ago, it was updated like May 1st, is 1387. So it's not in the top 1,000, but pretty close, definitely top 1%, close to the top. But then you see libraries, Python libraries that perform similar functionality like scikit-image or TorchVision, they're higher in a place, and also in number of downloads for scikit-image 13,000, TorchVision, whatever, like 13 million, TorchVision 11 million, OpenCV 20 million. So in this sense, it gives me scale, how much can we go? I believe we can go to 10 with some like work, paying customer development, struggling, crying, things like this. But getting above this number, regardless of what we do, would be extremely challenging. And then some another approaches would be required. So in the sense, download sucks as metrics, but it's the best that we can do. Okay. And again, leaderboard is open for all Python packages, top 1%, top 8, like just feel free to check if you're working on something, how its dynamic changes. Okay, why we created Albumentations? We created Albumentations out of desperation because we participated in machine learning competitions at Kaggle, and there you fight for, you have limited data, at least at the time, and you fight for very like narrow things. So you need to squeeze everything from your data, and data augmentations was one of like mandatory techniques. And why in research papers at a time when they need to show novelty, or in production setup when they don't need to go like so complicated, augmentations were not that widely and aggressively used. Growth became slightly like later in this industry, and in something at Kaggle competitions, it was a must. But the issue was that it was year 2017. I won some like machine learning Kaggle competitions, and I had like weak GPU, and then I bought 4 GPUs, and then I trained my model. And they're not utilized. So in this previous talk, there were like something discussion, squeeze max out of your GPUs, and it didn't work. Why? A CPU was at the top. I bought faster CPU, still the same. Then again, I decided, okay, now it's time to profile after buying new CPU. So I checked out, and we used ImageOak library, which was the most diverse at the time. It was still like probably the most diverse after Albumentations. It was our like CPU was maxed, and our GPUs were at most at 20%. So basically, because GPUs became big, because you can like have these bigger batch sizes, CPU wasn't powerful enough. So we tried to see what can be done faster, and a lot can be done faster. So we created this library out of desperation. We wanted to be as flexible as ImageOak, and we wanted to be like a few times faster. Then one led to another, and basically we were our early adopters. And this library was, again, this code was created by Alexander Buslaev. Later, I pushed him to make it like as an official repository. But for months, we used it in different competitions, copy pasting here and there, because there was nothing publicly available. We didn't create a library, and that's it. So desperation, gift of desperations is whatever, like it gives you some creativity. On the right, this is a benchmark about performance on similar augmentations across different libraries that was done a couple months ago. Albumentations for uint8 images on CPU, it's still the fastest. I'll update benchmark, became even more faster, because if you look carefully, many of you solved lit code for job interviews. You don't need for actual job, but if you want to apply your skills working on Albumentations, you're welcome. There are many things, many optimizations that can make your code faster. Using NumPy and OpenCV, work faster than NumPy and work faster than OpenCV. Some algorithmic tricks that we used. Okay, so create out of desperation. So if you're creating something that you use and there's nothing similar to this, most likely other people may use it. Story that I hear from my friends that are building startup, I have idea for the product. I don't use it. I don't know anyone who uses this, but I can imagine a person who may potentially be interested in this. Now I need to go and raise some money. Bad story. You or your friends, because it just makes your life easier. Okay, so now I'll go through some maybe tactical hints that may speed up the development. In many ways, we were lucky. We create out of desperation. There is no direct competitors. We were our own influencers. You win competition, and then you say, by the way, my secret sauce with Albumentations, here's this. It works. Okay, so first thing, let's say you work on some repository. Let's say you have some code. Let's say you find it useful. Maybe it's not bad quality. Maybe no one knows about this. That is fine. But let's say you want to play this game about how to grow it and how to increase adoption in number of downloads. First step that you do, you need to create artifacts. It should be easy to refer to you. It should be easy to, so if I come to you and say, okay, I have a library, just blah, 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 you'll forget about this. If I'll send you a link with nice demo and some expression, you click on this, it basically clicks better. So first thing, then you can do it, within whatever, 1 day, 1 weekend. Of course, GitHub with nice README and ChatGPT is amazing in terms of generating nice README. Also makes sense website, because many people who can be interested or beneficial maybe as a referral, let's say my friends VCs recommended Albumentations to their portfolio companies, and they did this because this VCs read website, it's in description, so they're comment about this. Landing page and automatically generated documentation, publish it on GitHub pages. Again, you can steal all the code and all infrastructure from Albumentations, change your name, move another code, hopefully do this, because not all people do this. There's some pretty famous, maybe company, I don't know, repository inside face, the face detection inside face, pretty good. At some point, this guy who has this, responsible for this popular repo wanted to have a website as well. He took all our website, he replaced everything, colors, logo, things like this, except Google Analytics tag. And so for some time, we were very excited to see that our, on the website, so many people instantly, for whatever reason, started attending our site. And then we see, okay, it shows on this Google Analytics, pages that it's coming from. It's face detection, recall, just no. So in this sense, if you copy our or someone else's, for example, they're pretty similar right now. Pydantic, Fast API, all use kind of similar structure with MKDocs. Get it, steal it, do this in 1 weekend. Another thing that's less popular and less kind of established, but was kind of useful for us. You write a paper about your library, and it can be horrible. It can be written in all the scientific paper has this scientific feng shui type of language, based on this, and just forget about this. Take ChatGPT, take our paper, take papers scientific from PyTorch, feed it to ChatGPT, describe what your repository does, ask it to write some text, upload it to archive, good enough. From now on, no, I'm not kidding. Just read before, of course, uploading that. It's not it's related to reality. But in practice, it gives you a lot, because as people, again, Jacob will confirm, people in academia extremely conservative. And if either it's paper or something they can refer to, or you can go on yourself. Things I have GitHub repo, it just doesn't work in academia. So in this sense, you need to speak to these different communities in different languages. And just using ChatGPT to create preprint is good enough. Again, what I write here in the last line, they all can be horrible. It doesn't matter, because later you will improve them. You see, okay, nice logo, you steal it. Okay, wording in my ChatGPT wasn't good enough. I read this and I learned English better, maybe, I can improve. You can iterate. So in this sense, archive paper, preprint, so, website or you can iterate. Earlier you create this, earlier you'll be able to refer. Earlier it will appear in this Google search. And again, if you take Google right now, enter image augmentations, Albumentations, you'll be top first two links. We didn't do anything about SEO. Basically, it's historically happened. Yeah. So, okay. Artifacts. Automate everything. The thing is, if you have limited resources, and as I mentioned right now, we have 1.5 people working on this, you need to move fast. Move fast meaning doing aggressive changes. It's okay to have pull request with 1,000 lines if it doesn't break anything. How do you do this? It means that everything should be checked, automated as much as possible. And if I encounter or see something new, I instantly add it to check. So for us right now, it's rough, MyPy for type checking and pretty aggressive to this pre-commit hooks so that you don't even commit before everything happens. In the pre-commit hooks, we have some even custom things that check that our README is related to documentation or in this doc strings, there is no some dashed lines or stuff like this. You do this, it's mandatory. Meaning it will allow you to move fast. Another recent thing related to LLMs, there is a company called Sorcery AI, and for public open source packages, they provide this functionality. You create pull request, they take code before, code after with your changes, they feed it to LLMs, and then instantly in this pull request tab, they tell you, okay, here's typo, here your lazy bum didn't write test, could you please do it? I mean, wording is different, but content is the same. So basically it's kind of helpful. Most of it is useful when you're okay, not interested that is, but some of it's pretty deep. In this sense, it's also kind of useful. For test, for every change, we write test manual, we have test suites. For example, if you add new augmentation and then create pull request, you instantly, your test will fail. It's okay, you added new class, but it's not covered, man, that's not okay. And this, it makes things slower, especially we have some contributors who tried to contribute, but they got so much pain getting to the end because you need to go through all these checks and tests and verifications, but that's life. As a result, it allows us to create very aggressive requests. Instantly, I wanted to add pydentic to take typizations and I need to change 20 different files. It was okay. Why? Before, it was pain to do it, but even if something was broken, I was fine with this because it got broken. Someone will report, we will find it later, we'll add new tests, and then later on, we could be even more aggressive in our changes. Fast iterations and also easier for people to contribute when it has very hard strict checks. Right now, I'm working on integration Albumentations to Ultralytics package. Guys, it's ocean of pain. It's just Glenn, if you hear me, man, it's ocean of pain. Just rewrite it, please. So it's just extremely painful, takes a lot of time. When you have clean code strict structure, it's better. And CI/CD, rebuild website when documentation is updated, run all checks on all this Python and library versions. It is important. It allows 1.5 people and some side contributors to move fast, to be aggressive. Because you can be very careful with one pull request per day. You do 10, and 10 is bigger than 1. Okay, make adoption easy. So on the right, I don't know if you can see, it's called value equation. It's pretty annoying when people in literature, maybe at work, ask you questions, how much value will you bring to the company by Friday? And just what do you mean by value? And it's really vague statement. I read in some really amazing book about sales, best book about sales that I've read so far, called 1 Million Offer. And author talks about value equation, and value based on the author, and I like this analytics, has 4 components. It's in numerator, it has dream outcome, what can you achieve? And how, what's the probability of achieving it? And in denominator, how long will it take and how much pain will you have? And you need to deal with all 4 of it. So it's not enough focus on now. For example, you can collect testimonials from all your users, but it will hit only of likelihood of achievement. It will not talk about dream outcome, then come out time delay, then come out this. So when you do something about the library, focus on all 4. Dream outcome, perceived likelihood, show what you already achieved. Statements like, we're excited about our new feature, doesn't click with people. We won Kaggle competition using Albumentations, works better. We replaced this by that, now our GPU efficiency got better. So you talk about past, what you already built. Effort and sacrifice. Tutorials are ultra important. When we started the library, like we could get new functionality and no one is using it. Why? Because, and we tell people about this, we talk about them in person, it just doesn't. Because it requires, and we thought that integrating is kind of easy, it's obvious. I mean, here, there are some parameters, like, no. So again, tutorials, examples as close to the target as extremely important. It was very annoying, but it's mandatory to do. Okay, so, and of course, clear and easy installation process. There are some libraries in which you need to install Docker of some particular version, then in some particular library, then like change something in code, and then you'll be able to use the library. No. Pip install and that's it. Like in any Python, something, otherwise people will stop using it. Iterate fast. Again, better done than perfect. As I mentioned, small improvements a few times per day are much better than planning. I remember at Lyft, there was some project, I was promoted for this. I could implement it, I believe, in the code and like deploy backend, create microservices in a couple of days. We had 6 months of planning before writing any code. It's just like know how it should be done. And when you have small team, you have open source, people don't pay you, there is no commitment from some important banks, some other like, customers, just move fast, make small changes. Few times per day is better than big, but never. Do not over polish. Your tests, all of them should pass. And if your aesthetic feeling forces you to make code that is better, this is great, but better done than perfect. Just deploy it, move on. Later on, you can fix it and later like pull requests. Don't overthink with planning. So again, you can come in the morning and think, okay, what will I plan and do today and spend 2 hours on this? Instead, just like write some code and think later when you'll be in the flow. Be friends with the community. Again, volume beats focus. If you do something on very big volume, it's much better and more efficient than some like small plant and focus things. And more people contribute, more volume. In this sense, it's big distinction between commercial companies where you need to hire developers when you need to do this. And you cannot like without spending money to bring extra resources. In open source, it could be done. Many popular open source projects, big hundreds of people who contribute in their free time, people who write blog posts, people who do something, this is great. Most important thing, people should enjoy it. It should be fun. People like being part of the dynamic, successful story. It should be easy, clear guidelines, examples. You should respond instantly. If you don't know how to help them, like message them and say, we'll get back to this. It's very important. Be forgiving and helpful. 90% of the code that people contribute to open source sucks. It's better to rewrite it from scratch, still thank them, build on top of them, contribute, like communicate, do this. Because again, right now they do it badly, like 5 times later, it will be significantly. Okay, low pressure, people contributing for free in their free time. So in Albumentations, we have this rule. You can start pull request to work on something and drop it at any moment. No questions asked, no hard feelings. You can start new one, it's okay. You're spending your free time to help me in this sense. Do this, okay. And pleasing, thank people as much as possible in release notes, personally, in LinkedIn, message them. If someone is doing something great, write them amazing recommendation on LinkedIn. Why not? I mean, it doesn't cost you anything and person deserves it. It's just good for like ethical reasons. Okay, mental health. This is big one. I didn't know if to add it or not, but it's important. So first person at the peak, we have 5 very strong software developers, but then our person, Alexander Buslaev, who created the original code, who is responsible for this architecture that people like saying thanks to us, he said that he's leaving the project. The reason for this, because unlike me, he felt very responsible with the things he's doing. And then someone sends me his bug report in the evening. Then during the day, he goes to work. At work, he thinks about fixing this bug report, but instead he sits at the meetings, it eats him. Then he comes in the evening, his wife won't spend time with him, but he jumps in front of the computer to fix this bug. It's extremely annoying. And then he said, fuck it, guys. It was fun in the beginning when no one was using us. But right now, when we became popular, we got in this maintenance mode and it burns my free time. I'm kind of, so in this sense, yeah, we changed this thing. You do it only when you enjoy it and only because it's fun. People are not paying you money for this. So there is no like demands, there is no requests. For every person who asks me, okay, like I want you to implement this, I instantly ask, are you willing to become sponsor of the project? It will help us, you know, to bring more resources, things like this. Because yeah, we have this example and it shouldn't happen again. So if there are like some important pull requests that can help some company to save millions, they can wait. If there is some critical bug, they can wait. people want somebody, they can wait. I mean, of course, I want to help and I'll try to find time. And again, it will put like some good type of pressure. People are using it, let's do it. But again, there is no obligations. Last few slides. Marketing hijinks. So in our experience, what I call not marketing, but marketing hijinks about like blog posts, LinkedIn announcements, Twitter announcements, giving talks at the conference like this. Thank you for inviting, but still I'll talk about what I mean. So things like this, they provided extremely low value. The reason for this is because I can talk you about library and you feature things like this. Does it mean that you'll come home or at work and say, okay, let's remove half of our code and install this new library? It's unlikely not. So in the sense, you still need to do it and it still works. Another thing that was important for us, language. Language was a big thing. So when we tried to use great news, we're excited to announce our amazing feature. We got a lot of likes, but not from developers. When we had announcements like, we implemented this, we think it's pretty cool because we think it's pretty cool. It helps with this feature, with this, it unlocks that, and we did it because of this. And here's an example. We got drastically less likes, drastically less reposts, drastically this, but people who did this, they were actual developers. So in this sense, we switched this language to something like developer to developer. Even we sacrificed like views, likes, things like this. Thing that helped us significantly more is like offline marketing, or you can call it direct sales, or you can call it being annoying. So what did I do? Again, we knew these people in this Kaggle community, and I was coming to like some, Kaggle master, Grandmaster. Okay, I'm using Albumentations, just like, no, Torchivision is good enough. And I'm just, what stopped you from moving to Albumentations? Albumentations is like missing this feature. And I'm, okay, if we implement this, we'll use it. He just like, probably not. What else is missing? And then, okay, fuck, let me just do it because you're so annoying. And then this person does it. This person sees value. We added what was missing. And then when this person talks to his friends or something, it makes sense. So just going one by one with people who are influential in the community and people who actually use it and people who may understand what's the value, talking to them, being annoying, getting feedback from them, trying to sell to them directly, this provided the most value. Integrations. So if you're creating something that has direct analogous on the market, and it's not like I invented this, when I heard a talk about Keras, and even from PyTorch, everyone talks that, again, if NumPy is a standard and you're building some functionality that is very similar to NumPy, try to use exactly the same interface so that when people will try to use from the standard NumPy to you, it should be easy. Because instant they have some error, some block, some issue, it doesn't work. So again, standard interfaces, you should be a drop-in replacement. Next one, again. Of course, if you're creating something that's better than standard, communicate it, show it, things like this. What was again surprise to us, originally we had a lot of dependencies in the library, scikit image and like everything, like we're very close about adding Torchivision and PyTorch, but apparently when you want to be integrated in some one other package, dependencies create dependency hell, and yeah, try to make it as least as possible. Surprisingly, again, other open source libraries and maybe not open source libraries, they're interested in integration and collaboration in terms of like benefiting from your work, you're benefiting from them, but they're shy to ask and you're shy to ask and it just doesn't happen. So in some sense, just like message directly, communicate, life is good. Last slide, collaboration. If you have limited resources, but there are companies that have specified marketing teams, it is better if you leverage and find some collaborating potential like this. So 51 organized this amazing meetup. I didn't organize this. I was invited as a speaker. I talked to here. I have access to this amazing audience. When I was writing some blog post, I could write as myself, but at the moment I messaged to Kaggle guys, like cold email, their marketing team and say, would you be interested if I'll publish my blog post at Kaggle blog? And you use your marketing to promote it. I really said, and they're just like, yeah, of course, you'll be interested. did similar things when I worked at Lyft. So in some sense, if there are some companies that have dedicated marketing team or some professional podcaster, influencers, things like this, message them, ask them, try to find like things for collaboration. It's much better than if you cry, like, or if you yell, or communicate to 5 people who most likely will not even your target audience. Okay, it was the last slide. So like small summary, move fast, break things with stable infrastructure. To move fast, you need to move slow. What I mean is small iterations, every of them is stable, but a lot of them. Small improvements compound. I don't know how to create popular package in 1 week, but I can know most likely how to create this in a couple of years. Do not optimize for focus, optimize for volume. In the beginning, you don't know what works, what doesn't. You don't know what's valuable, what is not. Just answer is yes, add everything. You'll need to sleep less, but still. In our experience, real marketing is happening offline. You need to be annoying. It's like more closer to direct sales. You come, you talk, you like what value you need to be added, what else should be added, should be removed. You talk to people, collect them, sell to them, force them, I don't know, twist their arms to use your library one by one, because it works better than you're shouting to the empty void. They ignore you, smile to you, but it doesn't happen. Okay, and again, have fun. As I mentioned, work in open source or any project or any activity when no one is paying you or you don't have any obligations should be fun. Okay, and thanks.